from Mobile Tech Review, and here we are for that yearly event. It's a new iPhone. This time we're going to take a look at the iPhone 5. This is the first size increase that we've seen. 4-inch display right here, new Apple A6 CPU. Still Retina quality display, but we've got LTE on board now too. Is it worth it? Is it better than an Android? Watch and check it out now. So here it is, finally, the iPhone 5. Some of the biggest changes that we've seen from Apple when it comes to their smartphones. Notably, they've actually gone with a bigger display. For the first time, we've got a 4-inch display that's running at 1136 by 640 pixels for 326 ppi pixel density. That's very high pixel density. Now, that resolution isn't that anymore because we have Android phones that are running at 1280 by 720 and sometimes even 1280 by 800. But when you bring all those pixels into only 4 inches, you end up with very high pixel density, and you get the Apple Retina display, which is also super bright, very colorful, has high contrast ratio. In fact, Apple claims 800 to 1 contrast ratio and 500 nits of brightness, which is really, really bright. That means you can see this phone outdoors, and that's not unusual. Pretty much all iPhones have been pretty outdoor visible. The other big change here is LTE, true 4G, not faux 4G. LTE is currently the fastest wireless data technology, and there are several variants of this phone to ensure that you get LTE on your carrier, assuming your carrier does have LTE. So there's a Sprint version, a Verizon version, and an AT&T version. Sadly, T-Mobile has been left out again. And of course, overseas, for most of you folks, you're going to get the GSM version with LTE rather than the CDMA version that's used on Sprint and on Verizon. And of course, smaller national carriers or subnational carriers are going to be picking this up like US Cellular as well in the United States. Phone's available in 2 colors. You probably know that by now. You can get it in white and silver, which is the one that we have here. As always, a stunning, gorgeous looking piece. Now, the design is certainly reminiscent of the iPhone 4 and 4S. We've got the same straight sides, that kind of Leica-inspired look, but a lot taller and slimmer looking. Now, really, it's not that much taller, and it is the same width as the old iPhone, so it's just something like an optical illusion going on there. But while we're looking at the back, let's just talk about this. You have brushed aluminum here, or what Apple calls raw aluminum. It's smooth. There is some kind of coating on there to protect the metal. Silver is nice. It doesn't show any fingerprints. So far we haven't scratched it. It hasn't been that long. We'll see how that goes. But you see up here we have the white bands, and on the black phone it's going to be black plastic bands. This is to improve antenna reception. Apple has learned their lesson, and we now have very friendly plastics here to improve your reception. It also gives a little visual interest here, breaking up the what could otherwise be monotony of just a single metal plate back. Here we have our 8-megapixel camera with our flash. And the controls are largely unchanged from previous iPhone 4 and 4S. This is our new Nano SIM right here. Up top, the power button. Nice little metal beveled edge here. Looks really nice in the silver and white kind of configuration. You can see that clearly. Volume controls. And down here, though, there's 2 grills, still a single mono speaker. And here's our new Lightning port for syncing. Gone is the old 30-pin connector. Now, some people have had a real fit over this, and honestly, connectors do change over time. After a decade, it's time for something smaller and faster. And so far, I actually have found syncing faster, though the technology is still based on USB 2.0. And I'll show you what that connector looks like. But first, here's your headphone jack right here, 3.5mm now on the bottom. And here is the iPhone 5 in both colors. Obviously, we got white here, we got black here. Both nice-looking phones. We've done a turnaround on the white one, so I'll give you a turnaround on the black one now. Nice looking, that slate. This really is the most Leica looking iPhone yet, and that was supposed to be the inspiration for the design for this series of phones. Nice matte, or slate black as they call it here. Obviously the controls are going to be the same on both of them, but good looking phone. Shiny up here and down here for where the antenna covers are that are plastic, and here's our black anodized aluminum finish. Good looking phone. So this is the new USB cable that you get. This end looks like your standard USB, and this one is the new connector, much tinier and double-sided, so you can't put it in the wrong way. Either way it works. Just pop it in the bottom, and you got it. You also get these new ear pods instead of the old Apple earbuds, supposedly more comfortable, certainly a little bit better sounding. You got your inline controls there, and you get this cute little case to keep them in now. Buying these separately will cost you $29. Now, in terms of size difference, here we have the iPhone 4, which is the exact same size as the iPhone 4S. and our new iPhone 5. So you can see it is a bit taller, but somehow visually, like I said, it looks really stretched out, but it's not that much taller. So it's not that much more in your pocket. So those of you who really hate big phones, don't worry, you're not looking at some giant screen behemoth here. And in terms of width, they are the same. And though it's a minuscule difference, the new iPhone is a little bit thinner. And it's 20% lighter, and that really is noticeable. The iPhone 4 and 4S, they really felt pretty weighty in your pocket, which would, in one way was nice. It felt like a quality piece, but they're pretty heavy for their size. This guy is 3.95 ounces, the new iPhone 5. Feels a lot lighter. And now for a size comparison with the giants on AT&T, here's the Samsung Galaxy S3, and this is the HTC One X. The One X has a 4.7-inch display, and the Samsung has a 4.8-inch display, both running at 1280 by 720. So actually a bit higher resolution than what you get on the iPhone, but again, not as high pixel density because it is a bigger display. The iPhone 5 ships with iOS 6, and we've already got a video up so you can see what all the new features are there. We won't go into the new features in depth in this video, I'll just show you a couple of them. Calling interface is the same, your built-in apps are mostly the same, with the exception of the Maps application, which has already gotten a lot of negative attention. For some folks have been doing things like searching for a Chinese restaurant in their neighborhood and being told to go, well, 2 countries over to get some Chinese food, which is a little extreme. So far in the Dallas area where we are, we have not gotten any wacky suggestions. I've tried searching for hospitals, urgent care clinics, Mexican restaurants, Chinese restaurants, and a variety of other things, and it's actually shown me the proper things that are within a reasonable distance from where I am. Now, I will say that some things like POIs of landmarks like the Eiffel Tower are kind of flat, and somebody kind of steamrollered the Eiffel Tower there. So a little bizarre perspective issues in satellite mode, but it actually is working for us so far, the Maps application. And for those of you who don't know, we'll take a look at Maps in a minute. Google Maps is gonzo. We have Apple's own mapping solution. And here we are looking at the Dallas metro area, and you can see pretty much your standard looking maps. 3D doesn't really change things too much. We can on 3D just by tapping there. If we tap here, we can see hybrid and satellite modes. We'll switch over to satellite mode. Zoom in, lots and lots. See the beautiful roofs of Dallas, and you can pinch and turn as well, any way you want. There are no transit directions here, and there is no street view, for those of you who become accustomed to those luxuries from Google. And here we go, now we've got our street name superimposed on top of the satellite view. GPS has GLONASS, that's new for Apple for improved accuracy, and so far, well, it has been accurate in terms of placing us where we should be. There are other alternatives if you are not happy with Apple Maps. Like I said, Google Maps currently is not available. Whether it will appear in the iTunes App Store, I don't know. The way YouTube did pop in, for example. But you've got solutions from Telenav, and you've got AT&T Navigator also. Call quality so far been excellent on the phone. The iPhone 4S actually had pretty good call quality, and there's no death grip going on so far, as we've been able to find by squeezing it, holding it, doing a variety of bizarre things that you probably normally would never do when you hold a phone. And data speeds, well, data speeds have been just luscious. We do have LTE here. We have fast LTE, and let's find our testing app so we can show you. And we'll do a live speed test right now and see how it does, and then we'll show you our history of testing. Nice ping time, 45 milliseconds. 23.5 almost megabit down, 21.25 up, which is in line with our test. Actually, so far that is the slowest result that we have gotten. You can see here in our latest run of tests. So awesome, huge upgrade for those of you who have an iPhone 3GS or an iPhone 4 particularly, where you don't even have HSPA+, and certainly it's still a significant increase if you do have HSPA+. But for those of you who are up for your 2-year renewal, boy, you're just going to be amazed at how fast web pages load. In fact, we'll go to something heavyweight like the New York Times homepage so you can see how quickly that loads over LTE. Not bad. And as usual, we have access to HTML5 video. We have an accelerometer. So we can zoom in, zoom out quickly. Then we've got a video on the page. Let's see if that plays. Since obviously we don't have Flash Player. Yes, it does play. Good times. Doing this over LTE. And it's working. And here you can see we have the usual options for bookmarking and more. And if you hit there, you can see you've got some browser integration with all those services. So if you're wondering how much faster the iPhone has gotten in terms of web browsing with the iPhone 5 and iOS 6, you can see right here we have a SunSpider JavaScript Benchmark test where lower numbers are better. 958.3 milliseconds. That is the fastest result I have seen on any mobile device regardless of platform. The iPhone 4S for us scored 2200. Again, lower numbers are better. And that was about par for the course for a lot of higher-end Android phones at the time. And the iPhone 4 scored 4000, which is remarkably slow by today's standards. So that's looking very good and very competitive with, again, phones like the HTC One X and the Samsung Galaxy S3, both of which are scoring around 1700, 1800, 1900, or 2000, depending on which phone you're looking at. Now, does 4 inches really make that much of a difference? You know, it really does. I didn't think that I was going to be that thrilled with it. I've been using primarily Android phones and the big screen ones like the Galaxy S3 and the One X. So I'm used to 4.7, 4.8 inches and 1280 by 720 resolution. And this is actually good enough for me. 3.5-inch screen on the older iPhones, it wasn't. I just didn't really feel like I was comfortable looking at things that were that tiny. I was pinch zooming all the time. And now we're starting to see enough stuff on the screen here, and it's large enough that even on a desktop version of a website, like we're looking at ours right here, I don't feel like I really need to zoom in so much. And also, finally, that 16:9 aspect ratio means that when you're watching TV shows and some movies, you're either getting no letterboxing anymore, so you're really taking advantage of the screen size there, or you're just getting little black bars on the top and the bottom for something that is originally from the cinema. So yeah, I would say for 1/2 inch, it makes all the difference in the world when you combine that with the switch to the 16:9 aspect ratio. And now I'll just show you a real quick snippet of a TV show that we've got on here. So you can see new 16:9 aspect ratio. Finally, we're not stuck at 4:3, so that means that TV shows will display and fill everything up. You can see that we don't have any borders right here. And there it is.
And she was murdered.
Cool, right?
I'm sorry.
Great improvement. And if you're watching movies that are widescreen cinematically, you'll get some black bar action down at the top of the bottom and nothing on the side, but not huge black bars. Pretty much similar to your Android experience now, because those phones are 16:9 too. Also new is with the photos. When you take photos with your camera, you can actually share those with folks who are using Mountain Lion on a Mac or other iDevice users if you wish to do so. You do not have to do so. And it can be handy for those of you who are Mac users for never having to use that USB cable to get your photos off. You can just have them auto-streaming over iCloud to get on device. And we got iCloud syncing here for calendar, contacts, reminders, notes. Quite a lot of syncing action going on here. And we have the new Passbook application here, which is sort of like your keyring rewards. You can save reward card type stuff, do tickets, Fandango, that kind of stuff, airlines. And Apple doesn't have a lot of partners right now, but hey, they're Apple, you know, they have a lot of clout, they're going to sell a lot of these devices, so you know there's going to be a lot of stuff coming through here. And you can also get coupon offers on this. And just like the iPhone 4S, you get Siri, and Siri, thanks to iOS 6, has been improved, and she does more things now. She can tell you about food in your neighborhood, movies in your neighborhood, not just things like dictating notes, which is pretty cool. So we'll show you that, press and hold. Make a new note. Remind me to buy caviar.
Here's your note.
Not bad, right? Better than the voice recognition on most phones, to be honest. And let's see, we want to find out about a movie in our area. Where's Resident Evil playing in movie theaters? And she's going to look up some location information for us.
Okay, I found 7 theaters not far from Plano.
Ah, pretty easy to find Resident Evil in our area, and those are actually correct local places, so that's working just fine. We've got an 8 megapixel rear camera on board. Now, that's not so surprising. If you had a 4S, you could get that too, but quality, as ever, is improving, and this takes really good shots. And Apple has, of course, a crystal lens cover on the back so that it won't get all scratched and gnarly, degrading your photo quality. UI is largely unchanged. Photo time, shooting time is very fast. You can also shoot 1080p video. Both are absolutely lovely. One of the nicer camera phones on the market. And you can see we have the HDR mode here, and new is panorama mode. Front camera is 1.2 megapixels. It can shoot 720p video for things like FaceTime chat also. That means very high quality. We tested it out. Nice looking. Depending on your carrier, you can do FaceTime over cellular. If you're a lucky AT&T customer, they're going to want you to pay for a more expensive data plan to do that. So how about gaming? We're in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Not the world's newest game, but you can see that games are going to need to have updated assets to take advantage of the full width of the screen. We've got a little bit of black bars here as I drive around drunkenly on the left and the right side. But certainly, with the new A6 processor, we have no problem playing any game on this. Definitely good news for gamers, especially for those who have older iPhone models like the iPhone 4 or the 3GS. You're going to notice a huge speed improvement for gaming. And iBooks is on here. That's an optional free download if you want to use iBooks to read your books. And we have some books that we actually have side-loaded. They did not come from Apple's library. You don't have to buy from Apple to use iBooks. You can just use iTunes to get things on there. So we're going to take a look at the girl with the dragon tattoo here. So you can see the text quality. We'll jump to a chapter. And as ever, very sharp text. You get a little bit more reading room now, which is nice. Certainly one of the clearest screens on the market. The iTunes App Store has also been updated, a little bit more modern, a little bit more pretty, also a little bit more like Android and some other app markets. Now, if you download an application, it doesn't boot you out to the home screen, so you have to go back in and do things again. You can browse around. So if we go to search, you can see we've been searching for Twitter clients. I've already installed that one, so it tells me that. And we can see other matches. Maybe I want Instagram. Maybe I want Tweetcaster. In fact, let's give Tweetcaster a try so you can see what happens when we do. So now you can see it's installing, and we can keep perusing around. We can do other things. We can check out top charts, all without being thrown to the home screen. It feels so thoroughly not old-fashioned anymore. Gotta say, I like that a lot. And speaking of YouTube, you can see right here, you can still get the YouTube app, you just have to download it. It's not preloaded anymore. Despite the move to LTE, which obviously we have active here, battery life is not compromised. Apple, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. They claim up to 8 hours of talk time on 3G, and why do they say that? Because 3G and 4G in the case of AT&T, that's what you actually talk on. We don't have LTE over voice yet, so you're going to talk over HSPA network if you're on AT&T and over the CDMA network if you're on Sprint or Verizon. So anyway, 8 hours of claimed talk time. We're still testing that, but so far it's looking pretty good. Standby up to a little over 10 days. And 10 hours of video playback, 40 hours of music playback. For internet use, they claim up to 8 hours on 3G and up to 8 hours on LTE, 10 hours for Wi-Fi. And again, read our full review that we'll be posting so you can see what our battery tests end up looking like. And standard for you iPeople is AirPlay mirroring. If you have an Apple TV, if you have the 3rd gen one, you can stream up to 1080p. If you have the 2nd gen, you can do it up to 720p. So that's the new iPhone 5 available today. With contract, you're looking at $199 for the 16 gig, $299 for the 32 gig, and $399 for the 64 gig model. Off-contract prices start at $649 and go up from there, so you're looking at an expensive phone there if you're going to do this completely off-contract. Definitely a good-looking phone, typical of Apple. Not a huge change from the 4 and 4S, but boy, still an attractive piece of equipment. Is this better than Android? Well, there's a dangerous question to ask, isn't it? You folks who own a Samsung Galaxy S3 are going to say, do you have picture-in-a-picture video? No, obviously it doesn't. Do you have a little front camera that looks at you every so often so it knows to keep the screen on? No. Some of those fancy features are still not here on the iPhone. And will they ever be here? Who knows? Still, the iPhone is about ease of use, really quick performance, great selection of applications. So, they're going for two different sets of users there. I'm sure we'll have some smackdowns to help you decide. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website to read the full review of the iPhone 5, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.